So before I start, I just want to say a little bit of why is it that we're here. I guess that we wanted to share a little bit of our knowledge about men. Being history, we have to continuously understand what has changed. We have to continuously understand how to talk to them, how to talk to the man's man, to the macho, to the dad, to the buddy, to actually the mom's dad, that we have all these new spectrums. And in doing that, we actually did last year a dudology study, and we called it like that, just around men. We went to 18 countries, 5 in Latin America. We went to Argentina, Brazil, Mexico. We went to Colombia and Venezuela. We did about 2,000 interviews in each of the markets, and just understanding what is it, what they feel, what are they doing, how do they see themselves different from maybe previous generations. And we got many insights, and the many insights actually landed us to 5 main topics, or 5 main, I guess, overarching results. One is a multidimensional man, the man of the house, the image-conscious man, the new male role models, and last but not least is the virtual man cave. Now, before I actually go on and we'll start the panel, I would love to run a video so you can get an idea of each of these before we start.
Old Spice Aftershave Lotion, the happiest ending a shave ever had. Makes your face wake up, tingles it to a clean, fresh feeling.
Schmitz is a dry beer, a mellow beer, a hearty beer, blended into one beer, a light, bright, fun beer. Schmitz!
And your mom's new boyfriend?
Good, he's cool.
What's he do for a living?
He's a personal trainer.
Great.
Dad. But he doesn't like football.
Okay, so I think that right now you get an idea of what we're talking about here in this study. To start, we'll start with a multidimensional man. And within the multidimensional man, how is it that it resulted? Well, it resulted from this blurring of the gender lines. A man today has to do what a man was supposed to do, plus what women many times were expected to do as well. And something that we found in our study is that men today, they said in their own words, we have to do it all. And what's nice also is that it's not just they have to do it all, but they want to do it all. So there's a very important internal change as well on why is it that man is doing all of this. And not only that, but also the priorities then. We see that men today want more of a work-life balance, and they want to be, they're still competitive, but they also want to be compassionate, and they're nurturers, and they're still manly, but they have a softer side. And that, I think that it's for sure something that we appreciate. But besides the point, they told me that that wasn't part of the script, it's something that also makes a challenge for all of us in the marketing arena, in the media. How is it that we talk to them? Because before it was very straightforward. It was just the macho, the strong. Now there's another spectrum. There's a wider understanding of what man is. And I would love for Paulo to talk a little bit about that. Talk about, for example, in your book, you refer to children and the important role that today's man play in the life of the children, and how is it that, for example, in Brazil, talent has been able to incorporate this.
Yes, I believe that the men are rewriting their story. The warriors that lived for centuries don't exist anymore. But a new warrior is coming, a new man. Although the men feel that they are responsible to provide any resources for their families, they want to live their lives with more quality. The money is not the final goal for this contemporary man. And they have new roles in their lives now. Take the children to the school, go to the supermarket, get the clothes to the laundry, and they are doing these tasks without shame. 65% of the men in Brazil don't want to change their jobs if the new jobs take them far from their families and their children. They want to live together. I believe that the biggest change between the old man and the new man, that this new man is much more emotional. Mm-hmm. And at times we're trying to do this, work with this new concept, emotional, and trying to develop more strategy thinking about this.
About that part.
Yes.
Well, that actually brings me to Elizabeth. He's talking about content and how is that they're more emotional. How is it, Elizabeth, on history? How have we adapted both the marketing, the content, to talk to this new man who's so sometimes vulnerable and so strong?
Sure. I mean, I think a lot of history's recent success is by making their programming and their content a lot more accessible to, a much more multidimensional man. History's DNA has always been about, sort of epic moments, great events, great men, and sort of entertaining while educating on those facts. And really, to open the content up more to a more multi-dimensional man, to sort of a more gender neutral audience, so he feels comfortable watching on the couch with his wife. What they decided to focus on was a little bit more about the journey towards greatness in the programming, and really sort of establishing role models who are best in class, and so we can see what their journey is like to become great. And I think, great examples of how we've done that is Pawn Stars. These guys own a best-in-class pawn shop in the U.S. And not only do we see how they operate all of the historical facts that come in with the different artifacts on a day-to-day basis, but also sort of the relationships they have within the shop, working with family, working with friends, negotiating all those dynamics. And I think that why that show is so much better than all the others in the space is because it looks at all those different dynamics. I think another great example, which is much more sort of in the history DNA, is our recent tentpole event, World Wars, which was deeply rooted in the historical, but it also looked at sort of what made men like Churchill, Hitler, etc., what they were in World War II by looking back at all the stuff that had happened to them in World War I and the build up to World War II. So it really opened it up to the journey. So I think that's how our content kind of talks more to the multidimensional man. And I think, that by doing that, we've seen great audience growth because he watches with his wife, with his children, and it becomes a lot sort of more broadly appealing. From a marketing perspective, really what we've done to to talk to this guy is to stop seeing him as just sort of a monolith. Just because you watch football or baseball on a given night of the week doesn't mean you always listen to all the same music or watch all the same shows as the other guys that watch that. And so really understanding show by show who exactly it is that watches it, what they like, and what about the show brings them in. And then we obviously cater our promos and our marketing to those different qualifying factors.
Thanks. Luis, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I think that the men are forced to expand their abilities. I mean, because the practical need of the man, that's why I agree with you with the emotional thing, because the practical need of a man doesn't necessarily what women or society are expecting from men. They want us to be more emotional, and I think that is going to increase in the future. The practical abilities or traits that made us and space in society in the kings in the past are not going to disappear. I mean, they are going to remain because nobody is teaching us how to play the new role. So we want to leave those things behind. We are learning to become the new man in this new era. So I don't think that they are going to disappear. We are expanding, and that's going to increase in the future.
Believe me, all women here are happy to hear that. The man of the house, that would be the next topic. We found that responsibilities as well have been expanded. Chores, for example, that before were meant for women only, now we're dividing them with men. And things that before, for example, just products that were 100% targeting to men, now they're actually going and saying, well, maybe I just need to talk to men too because they're buying them, because they're using them. Luis, is that something that, for example, in the study, in the presentation or the report that you guys did, State of the Man, in J. Walter Thompson, was very relevant and really came across in all the test research that you do?
What do you say at the beginning, because I didn't hear?
On the State of the Man, how is it that, for example, they found this new man of the house, and how is it that products, for example, have adapted their line or the presentation, because now it's not just used by a woman, but also for a man.
Of course. Yeah, the thing is that, it's true. There are a lot of men that want to be useful, that want to help at home. But to be honest, we don't have a clue how to do it properly. So there's a kind of chaos that we are creating at home because we want to do the things, but we don't necessarily know how to do it. So, for example, take the example of Tide Pods. Tide Pods is taking advantage of this chaos. We want to do the laundry, but our counterpart, they don't necessarily trust us about the amount of detergent that we need to put in the washing machine. So there's a constant fight about it, right? And you know that. So Tide Pods,
ladies are smiling.
Yeah. So Tide Pods is kind of taking advantage of this situation, and they came up with a new product that solved this problem. So I think that's a wonderful opportunity for brands to put attention on the conflicts that we are creating at home, and come up with products that can help us to stay married, because we're going to provoke many divorces.
I can see the awards, the reason why the awards. That's great. Thor, what about you on the Bavaria? How is it that you guys have adapted to this new man to talk to all of these changes?
Well, we've sort of called this coming from the men of the bar to the men of the house. For years, for decades, Bavaria and I think every single brewing company in Latin America has tried to tap into home consumption. It's one of the biggest occasions for beverages, but due to cultural barriers and restrictions, we have not been able to actually go into the house. Basically because women have been the owners of the house and have always thought and had a very bad relationship with alcohol. We are the beverage of moderation. and we have not been able to actually go in there. What's happening is, as this man of the house becomes more involved into the everyday chores, the responsibilities, the what really takes to upbring a house, he also gets some ownership of the house. So we're taking back the ownership and the accountability of our house and our homes. So this guy, he has to go and do the groceries. So he actually takes advantage and he buys a six-pack for the whole week. So, for the last 3 years, we've been, our consumption, our home consumption has been exploding, specifically in Colombia. Of course, there are some on-premise restrictions that have sort of helped that. But when you ask people and when you ask guys now, are you afraid to take beer home? They're more comfortable with that because they own their house now, and it's really interesting for us. I think that responsibility sharing, it's very important for a category like beer for us.
So more than a challenge, it actually has become.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Yeah.
Great, that's good. Well, on the next topic, we actually have the image conscious, and I think that you saw a couple of videos on that regard. One of the things that I loved about Paulo's book, and he hates that I'm actually holding his book like that, is the fact that he talks about how is it that this is not just an external change. Men are just not más vanidosos, y él lo habla así dentro de sus libros, sino que el hombre ahora, men today, they actually have made a change inside. And what they want is just to be healthy. And they want to be young, and that's the reason why they take care of themselves. So it's more of an internal, and then how we demonstrate on the outside, rather than just an outside, let me just look prettier now and compete with my significant other. So I would love for Paulo to just talk a little bit more on that regard.
The new man is much more vain. I read a recent research that in Brazil, men between 20 and 35 years, 7% of these men are very worried about the appearance. 29% is worried. Only 1% don't care about. And I believe that there are two main reasons for this. Reason number one, women. Yes. Yes. Couples are getting married and divorced all the time. And they need to be more confident to get inside this new game of love. Reason number two, women. Yes. But no, here, the men are sharing space in the companies. Disputing space with beautiful, competent, and like a woman like you. It's difficult. To be out of fashion or in bad shape is not an option anymore. They need to feel confident to get a better job, to get the confidence of the boss like you, okay? Then they need to rebuild their bodies, okay? To face you, because you start the change before.
Great. Daniel, talk to us. I mean, what better than Procter to tell us about this? Because I think that this has been a huge category that Procter has been able to tap into. And, you know, Paulo referenced in his book things like, well, now all these products with, especially for men, and, you know, this is not men just sharing. It's something actually made for them on that regard.
Yeah, sure. This has been actually very interesting for a brand like Gillette, because in the end, this is a category that is growing behind this trend. And it was great to see in the video you put out in the introduction a guy shaving his chest, because that is actually a trend that we are tapping into it. And like probably 2 years ago, we started to see that the trend, the body grooming trend, so this is people shaving or trimming other parts of the body beyond the face, was growing. Actually, in Brazil, it's probably 50% of the people is already doing any kind of body grooming.
Okay.
Paulo, did you hear that? 50%.
Are you part of that 50? I assume yes. So But that 50% was doing body grooming by their own. Before that, we didn't do anything. We didn't have any product for body grooming. So we saw that data and we say, we need to do something. We are the category, we need to do something. So we started first with advertising, not even with products. With the products we had for face, we started talking about body grooming, and we tapped on an insight about evolution and how men was evolving. And we did a comparison between a caveman full of hair and the more modern guy that has no hair in his body. So we did that, and also related to what you just said is we tapped into women, because if you tell me, and if you are my couple, if you tell me, you know, you should maybe do some sort of body grooming, then I will do it, you know. So we tapped into that, because men will convert into body grooming if their couples ask for that. Yeah. I assume you are doing that because of that, right? And the second one was education, because let's assume that you are my couple again and you told me, you know, you should do some sort of body grooming, and then Thor is my friend. I'm not gonna go, hey Thor, what's up? How do I shave my balls? You cannot do that, you know?
No,
so,
I'm not gonna tell you.
Exactly. So that's why education was important, but we needed to find a place where to educate these guys. And digitally was the right vehicle to do that. And we put some videos on how to body groom your chest, your groin, etc. Mm-hmm. And the level of engagement and organic reach we got into those videos was amazing. Actually, one of the highest. So yeah, definitely this is something we are tapping, and we just launched actually a razor that is designed to do body shaving. So it's a different product, it's a different blade, it's a different handle.
So just you to continue to invest and look forward to that.
This is a long-term bet. We're just about to get started.
Of course. And then on the digital, you also mentioned that. So you yourself, not only the man conscious, but then you're looking for each of the media to actually serve for each of the communications, I guess. So
yeah, exactly. And we had media designed to live in digital. It was not just, you know, putting the TV ad in YouTube. It was designing something to the media that he was consuming, because he was already writing in Google how to body shave my chest. So we deliver on that question with content.
Got it. Elizabeth, that's something like, for example, history is trying to tap also, not on the grooming side,
no,
but on the reaching on all the platforms. You don't want to get into that conversation, I hear you.
Yes, we're definitely doing that as well, although certainly, I mean, I don't know how I can follow up content like that. What we've been doing with our talent is offering them up as sort of advice columnists for men. We've partnered with one of the major men's sites in the US, Ask Men, and all of our talent that specialize in certain areas. So for instance, the Top Gear guides, no cars, the Pawn Stars guides, no negotiating. And we've allowed people to submit questions to these guys that they answer on a weekly basis. In a column on that site, it's sort of a separate page that's now a destination, and we've seen sort of immense interaction with it, which I think is great, because, you know, we always say in the US that men are hesitant to ask for directions, to ask for advice, to ask for questions, and we're seeing that sort of open up and the behavior start to change a little bit.
We just need to now include the whole
shaving,
we'll get to that's it. Okay, thank you. That leads me also to the new male role model. As you can imagine, if right now we're multidimensional, if we're self-conscious, then that means also that the models that used to be before are no longer valid. So for example, a James Bond that used to be a Sean Connery, it's actually replaced now with a Daniel Craig, who's a lot more vulnerable, and maybe even actors or players. So for example, you have very big basketball players that are shown on commercials, and they're not shown because of the superstar and the how much they can, I don't know, how tall can they get or anything like that, but it's actually them playing with their kids. So the role models have changed. How is it, for example, Elizabeth, since you were the last one to answer, how is it that the role models have changed in history that before with today, and the relationship also with, how is it that you can make yourself relatable, I guess, with the audience?
Sure. I mean, I think what we've really evolved from is sort of great men in history that you can aspire to be, but they're not sort of living and breathing entities, to these real sort of guys that every man can relate to because, as we were talking about before, they have a family. We can see how they deal with different moments of stress, with drama, with conflict. And so, what we've done by sort of looking at how history is made and how great moments are made versus going back in time is really allowing those guys to become more accessible and to allow people to sort of feel that maybe they can get there because they see how they deal with everyday life in the current moment.
Daniel, on Gillette's side, for example, the role models?
Yeah, sure. Actually, the old Gillette advertising was very classic, and it was, let's just take the most popular guy in sports, let's give him a razor and say, I shave with Gillette, that's it. That was easy, and we had Tiger Woods, and we have all the big shots in our advertising. But then men started to have a more deep approach into celebrities. They wanted to know why that guy is working for that particular brand. So it became much more challenging, and actually I can explain that with a nice example. In Brazil, we've had a partnership with the Ayrton Senna Foundation, and we wanted to commemorate the 20th anniversary of his death last year. But we wanted to do something special, and it's a very delicate topic, so we needed to do it in the right way. And then we found that many guys that were 20 years old, their name was actually Ayrton Senna Ferreira, Ayrton Senna Perez. So we found those guys, and in the end, their name was a tribute to Senna. So we incorporated them into our story, and we said, we are doing a tribute to Ayrton Senna now, and this is the product that we're launching to commemorate that. But we are joining forces with these guys, which their name is also a tribute to him. So this is a different approach. It's not just doing a poster with Senna's face, because Senna is an icon. But what's the story that Gillette can tell that is unique about Senna and the moment we were talking about? I think that's the new challenge. Exactly. Exactly.
Got it. Thor, you have a big challenge because beer, for example, it's always about the women, and so how is it that we're
Those
approaching
are nice
that?
role models,
Yeah,
aren't them? I think so. No, actually, I think you know what? It's more of an evolution, and I think the whole thing that we're talking about now, we're talking about segmentation. We in Bavaria, we have 14 different beer brands. So how do you start to actually differentiate among all those brands? Is actually by segmentating those men. So this is very helpful for us. So role models. I mean, who could have ever thought that a role model for a beer brand could have been a dancer? It makes no sense. It's the least masculine job in the world, but it's all about what he stands for. So he stands for dedication, he stands for quality, he stands for determination, and that's what we sell. And that's in the deepest level that we want to connect with consumers. So role models are not only just like Daniel was saying, I shave with this. It's I believe in this. So that's the deep connection that we're actually looking for in those role models or those spokespersons, because after all, they're just ambassadors of the brand. So having dancers, photographers, artists, writers, not really your type of beer advertising has really opened up the brands to actually live a different world, and actually that's what some of the men are looking for. I'm not saying everyone, and I'm not saying those commercials are for every single guy's guy or macho man or whatever, but we're looking for different men. We're looking to segment, I think. So that's definitely what's happening. It's all about an evolution, I think, and it's actually going a little bit deeper into what he stands for, not just what his name is.
Well, that leads me to the last one. Thank you, which is the men's virtual man cave, and say that that brings me to it is because of how deeper and how the different aspects, I guess, of men. So yes, they all think about women, and I had actually in my script sports, technology, and women, but I'll say women first. I listened loud and clear. So yes, there's conversation about women, there's conversation about sports, about technology, but they're going into deeper conversations. And right now, for example, men can't just talk to each other and just complain about how is it that their daughter or their niece did something and they can't believe it, or something happened at their work, and it's okay. It's not taboo. They don't feel less manly just because they have that conversation. For example, our president, Eddie, was mentioning, reading this book, how much man has evolved and how is it that he sees, portrays in all these aspects. And I think that is very valuable when we're thinking, well, if we need to talk to them and if we need to connect, but yet the men today go into deeper conversations, they stand for more stuff. Not only that, but then also we need to reach them differently because they have more chores now. It's not just going to work and coming home. Coming home, that may means even helping the kids with the homework. And then if you want to talk to them, maybe there's certain topics that you want to do with them differently, digitally. So we have all these aspects. So in your case, Paulo, how do you see all of this manscape, and how is it, we put a quote in our video that says, well, do still men want to eat, I don't know, steak and drink beer and talk about women? And you said yes and no. So they have everything. So
They still think about beer, barbecue, football, and women. But nowadays are thinking about themselves, about their families, about their children. They are doing a lot of new things with the kids that used to be mom's activities. And they are very worried about this. They are trying to be a good father, because now moms are working in good companies, moms are traveling a lot, moms are arriving late at home, then they are trying to care about their families, about their kids. In one phrase I could say, moms does not have lunch at home anymore, but dad does.
that's very interesting, for sure. Luis? How is it that you see all of this? I mean, there's still some commercials that are very traditionally focused. Will that change? Is that going to stay like that for certain categories?
No, I think that, I mean, commercials, it's just a response of what is happening out there. And those behaviors, as I said at the beginning, they are not going to disappear. We are expanding. So we're still going to be able to see commercials that tap into the more traditional man and its attributes and needs and behaviors, but we will see an increase of more brands talking about the more emotional side of the man. I mean, there's a nice study that Dove conducted, I think last year, and there's a disconnection about how the men feel about themselves and how the brands reflect them in media. For example, they say that almost 80% of men interviewed, they stated that they feel that they are responsible of taking care of their child's emotions, but only 20% see that reflected in media. And they made this wonderful ad for the Father's Day.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful piece of communications. So there's a disconnection, and we need to I think that there's an urge for brands to do more research, because that disconnection is true, and we need to close the gap.
Thank you. Daniel?
So I'm gonna pick on one of these three big areas for men, because in the end, we are about massive reach. So if you wanna reach men, probably sports is a huge platform. But is now is totally different, because in the past, probably what you all needed to do was to put a billboard, behind the goalpost, like we did in the World Cups in the past, that said Gillette, and that was enough. Mm-hmm. But now, the role we are seeing in sports is much more connected to the essence of the brand. And again, to give you one more example. This morning, we announced that we will partner with Football Club Barcelona for Latin America. And the reason we picked Barcelona is not because, or yes, it is because they are a huge brand, they are massive, but beyond that, the reason why we picked them is because the way the Barcelona team plays is very unique and is rooted on precision. And our brand is all about precision, so there is a unique connection that none of the other sponsors of the club could take and could leverage. So we will have a unique view on why Gillette and Barcelona are together. And actually, we took it to the next level, and the video we released today is how the Latin precision that Messi, Neymar, and all the Latin guys that have played in Barcelona is helping to really drive that game and to give the edge of the team that today has. They right now they are first in the league. But this is totally different, and we are not doing a lot of billboards, honestly. We are just tapping on an insight and on a common territory, and we are going and talking about it and having the conversation with the guys about this. And it's not just one push, here's the billboard and that's it.
Great, thanks. And unfortunately, I think our time is up. I would like to just leave him with a couple of last thoughts from our panelists. I don't know if you want to just last thoughts, maybe how do you see men in 10 years from now? Paulo, you want to start? And then we'll go.
I believe that men start to think more with their hearts than your pockets. It's better for them.
Luis?
I think most of our changes, men, as I said at the beginning, we are forced to change because women are taking over. And that's not going to change. That's going to increase. So we'll see more massive manifestations of these insights and these new behaviors that we are talking about. They will increase in the future. And one of the things that will change definitely is that the shopping habits and the shopping decision at home will change. Mm-hmm. Now, in most of Latin American countries, women decides in about 80% what to in the shopping, of at least for the groceries. Mm-hmm. That's going to change. Because we are doing the household chores now. Mm-hmm. So we are going to become experts. We're going to have a point of view on the products in our own way to do the things, to do the stuff. So we are going to decide, and that's going to change. But I think that some of the things that are also going to change in the future is the sources of pride. The sources of pride in the future will be completely different than they were in the past. We are going to take pride of being good at the kitchen, for example, being good at doing shopping, intelligent shopping, mm-hmm. and other kind of stuff. But we're also gonna keep those things that made us proud in the past. We still want to be the fixer. We still want to be the protector. We still want to be, an effective provider. So I think that it's going to be an interesting mix.
Great.
I will answer from a business perspective. Because I think we already understood how the 10 years from now men looks like. So I think the word would be segmentation again. I think it's a revenue driver. I think just like what happened with shampoo with women, 20, 30 years ago, there was just one shampoo. Now there's probably 1 million for each hair, each person, each height, each weight, whatever. So I think what's going to happen in 10 years is we're going to have a beer that helps you pick up brunettes from Latin America. So that's my vision.
I won it.
And I think you won that one, right? So yeah.
He can't say that. He's married to a Venezuelan. Do not say that.
I won't say it.
Daniel, thank you so much.
Yeah, two things. One is the access of information will influence the type of decisions that men will make. I think that as the years will come, they will take much more informed decisions. I think that in the past, men operated in autopilot, and now that is not the case, and it will continue to deepen. And the other one, I think you mentioned, which is segmentation. That there is going to be a proliferation of very tiny products that in the past looked as a niche product that now will be probably the name of the game.
Thank you. Elizabeth?
I feel like most of it's been said already. I think I'll take this from a more consumer standpoint. I mean, I definitely agree that I think that men are going to continue to evolve as sort of the work-life balance continues to shift as women sort of remain in the workforce. And personally, I'm super excited for them to get even more knowledgeable about how to do stuff around the home and with their kids. So bring it on. Continue to evolve.
Nice.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.